Hello, hello. It's Bernadette. So I've been wanting to get on here and do talk about what's coming. A lot is going on. I spent a few days over the weekend last week looking at all of the astrological aspects coming. I mean, I had to do my monthly forecast for the Hidden Wisdom members today, but something told me with everything that was going on that I needed to dive deeper into how we finish out the rest of this year, 2024, and moving into 2025. I have taken like copious notes and I've been downloading a ton of information. And while I'm not going to share all of what I kind of came up with and what I've been talking to Spirit about, and even all the deep astrological stuff, because many of you will get lost, I do want to talk about it in the frame of what's going on right now. A lot is going on. I mean, just this last 4 or 5 days, a lot is going on. Many of you didn't know that the longshoremen were going to strike. Some of you may not know that they went on strike, and it actually goes right along with the astrology. But there's a lot, if you're here in the US, you need to know. But it's not only going to affect the US, it's going to affect everything globally, especially things that are exported and imported between the US and Europe. So there's a lot happening. And I want to prepare you. I'm hoping that through doing this and kind of talking to you guys about this, you can you can take it into meditation. You can pray about it and see what's best for you as far as, making sure that you're set up properly. The first thing I want to say, though, with Hurricane Helene, what just happened in the southeast, like it's devastating. I've been watching everything going on since the hurricane hit, and people were afraid of Florida, but I mean, what happened in Tennessee and North Carolina, Georgia, like the recovery efforts and rescue efforts, it's still in rescue. Like, we're not in recovery, and it's gonna those regions, those areas that got wiped out, it's months before they straighten that stuff out. So, and that too goes along with the astrology. So I thought, you know what? I should probably kind of hit this with you guys, like go over it with you guys so that you know why this stuff's happening. There's more to come. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I mean, the thing about astrology is it can help us understand the energies that are affecting things on the planet, and with our lives, and everything that's happening right now um, has an astrological aspect that's happening going right along with it. And we've got some intense energies coming for the month of October, moving through the rest of the year. So I'm going to try and make it as easy for you guys to understand as possible. But first, I need to share this into my group so that everyone can see. Facebook's been super weird about um, Facebook's been super weird about you guys getting notifications. Everyone keeps telling me like I'm not getting my notifications when you go live. And I get that. If that's you, let me know. Some of you are watching on YouTube, some of you are watching on Facebook. So wherever you're watching from, if you can just say hello and let me know, because I want to make sure A, you guys can hear me, and B, that this is actually getting out to you. So um, I want to share this in my group because I haven't been sharing in that group for whatever reason. But say hello. Say hello. Say hello. All right. Hi, Paula. How are you? Okay. So, I mean, this has been rough for me because I've been sitting on all kinds of downloads and looking at all of this information, really deep diving into the current astrological aspects, which are major. They're not ones that we've seen in our lifetime, and many of them go back in history, that to the point where it's like not good things happened. I mean, the astrological alignments had happened. I was looking historically, okay, when was the last time we had that aspect with those planets specifically? And I mean, this stuff goes way back. And there's some disturbing stuff I found. So I'm not going to share that with you guys because you don't need to know. But the point that I decided that I would come on and kind of break down some of the stuff coming up this month in a general way, and for the rest of the year, just overall, um, and hypotheses, some predictions, because I feel like there's more to come. So if you're just now, like, I don't know how many of you have been paying attention to the impending longshoreman strike along the East Coast and the ports on the East Coast. Let me know in the comments. Did you know before midnight last night that the possibility of them striking was there? Have you even been paying attention? Do you know that, in fact, the ports went on strike, the longshoremen went on strike? And it can really change the game for people along, well, it's the whole United States, but especially on the East Coast, mostly from goods that are coming from Europe, being imported, and different places with food, cars. There's a lot of things that are going to be backed up, but it will affect our economy and what we're paying for food. Supply and demand is a thing. This longshoreman strike, I get what they're asking for. I understand. They don't want automation taking over. If you look at the port of Long Beach in Los Angeles, there are automated robots running their, not even robots, like automated forklifts. You don't have people driving the forklifts. It's gone to a lot of automation. A lot of jobs have been lost. We've seen over the last month tons of layoffs. So a lot of people are afraid for their jobs as well. And I'm going to tell you, I have also gotten messages from Spirit about those of you who are in layoffs. Like, what do I do? You know, I haven't been able to find a job, yada, yada. There's hope. And I'm hoping, my intention with sharing some of this stuff is to prepare you so that you're not like getting lost and not being prepared for, some of the potential negative implications and things that can happen over the next month to 3 months, depending on how long this strike lasts. It can really screw up the economy here in the US. It can really mess up the supply chain. And that is predicted with the astrological elements. That's why I'm bringing this to you, because when the astrology starts to, like, the aspects show what we should be paying attention to, and then these events start happening that line up to, oh, that's how that's going to happen, like shortages in the supply chain, um, in the stock market, stock market volatility, then you have to start paying attention. So I hope you guys are okay. Are you okay? I want to hear from you. Like, are you okay with me sharing how the astrology lines up? Now, I did a very detailed monthly report, probably the longest report I've done in there to date, aside from like the yearly forecast. And it was over an hour and a half. I think it was like a 90-minute forecast just for the month of October. Like, that's how much is happening. So if you are wanting that kind of a breakdown and how it affects your sign, then join Hidden Wisdom. Just go to my website, bernadettegold.com/hidden wisdom, and you can join. It's a monthly membership for $40. And I'm actually going to be, because I'm feeling better and my brain's finally coming back, I'm actually going to be spending more time in helping the people in that group navigate the things that are happening, and create more of a community involvement engagement within that community. So you're very interested. You've been feeling a lot. Yeah, there's a lot more to come. And I mean, I've had messages from Spirit. I've had dreams over the last month. It's like, okay, we're gearing up, like, get ready. So again, I'd love to know how many of you are aware of the longshoreman strike, because people that aren't paying attention, you're going to start noticing the news didn't talk about it leading up to the strike. Like mainstream news did not talk about it. And yet people knew that this was coming. I was praying it wasn't going to happen, but it's interesting, and it's a little scary. Honestly, it's a little scary what's going on with it, and what can go on as a result of it. Again, we're already all of us have all of us have had a contraction happening just when we go grocery shopping, right? With the strike, gas prices are going to go up. I hope you guys understand. In my family, not telling you what to do. I'm telling you, me and my family Sunday night went and filled our gas tanks up in our cars, and while the gas prices have not gone up yet, they will, right? Our gas gets sent for refinement and then brought back. And guess what ports it goes out of? I mean, because I'm in Texas, and you would think, oh, the gas prices aren't going to be affected in Texas. Don't freak out, Bernadette. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. The oil that's produced here still needs to be sent out for refining. And how did they do it? Through the port. So do you guys see what I'm saying? Wherever you are, and if this natural disaster from the hurricanes did not teach you all one thing, make sure you have gas in your tanks. Make sure that if you get a feeling from your intuition, you heed it and you get out of whatever area. Things are happening in areas where we didn't think. Everyone was looking to Florida with the hurricanes. Nobody expected Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia to be hit the way that they were hit. Nobody was expecting the devastation that just occurred. And they're still struggling to get out of it. So if any of you are in those areas and you happen to see this, know that I'm praying daily. Know that my thoughts are with you, that I am asking the angels to intercede and sending as much love and positive energy for the outcome of all of this for all of you. I know so many people lost everything, and forget about the material things. There are so many people missing. So many people, so many animals, farms devastated they're covered in mud now. I don't think people realize how bad it was. And then on top of it, on the backside of it, now we have this longshoreman strike. And it's one of those things that's people, pay attention. You may not have been paying attention. And I know a lot of people didn't even realize it was going on. Some of you don't watch the news. I get it. I told you guys on a live not that long ago that Spirit had me put a news app on my phone to track patterns and whatnot, because I don't watch the news. I usually don't. But for the last however many months it's been, I've had it on my phone, and patterns started to emerge. And I'm like, okay, now what? Right? I just put the link in the comments for you, Paula, for Hidden Wisdom. All right, so let's get into it. Because I want you guys to be as empowered as you possibly can through what's coming. I want you to know what to expect as well, because there's lots of challenges. So the first one that, and I'm going to talk first about the strike, okay? And the astrological aspects and how it's affecting the strike and what it can actually create as far as issues for us, and when it can potentially be resolved. I literally wish that I had better news. I was like, man, I hope it stops in the next couple of days. We've got the first of three, funny enough, 3 eclipses this month. Do you guys understand? We have 3 eclipses. One tomorrow, solar eclipse in Libra. We have a lunar eclipse in Aries on the 17th. And then on the 31st of October, we've got a solar eclipse in Scorpio. That solar eclipse in Scorpio we'll talk about, because that one, as far as weather is concerned, that one poses a lot of threat for more natural disaster type stuff. So just saying. But with 3 eclipses in the month of October, that marks a huge amount of shift. Literally, it is a lot of eclipses, right? Like we just are coming into eclipse season. 3 in 1 month tells you how intense the energy is going to be setting up for the rest of the year, but through this month. Um, Now Pluto goes direct on October 11th, and I was like, okay, can that mark the end of the strike, right? It could mark a turning point, right? But it literally is more about the power dynamics between the labor unions and the corporate leaders. Once Pluto moves direct, there might be an intensified push for a resolution. It's possible, let's say this, it's possible for a resolution by the 11th, also because we have this other eclipse. It makes things, beginnings and endings unpredictable. So it's possible. Remember, we have Uranus and Taurus still. Like there's a lot of these major aspects that are like, what's going to happen? So it's hard to really, really predict. But that energy with Pluto's direct station, it could bring more revelations of the corruption and injustice to the forefront into the media so people understand why they're striking, right? It could prolong negotiations. Unfortunately, it like that October 11th Pluto direct, it could prolong things, which is not what I want to hear. I don't know if you guys have an understanding. From what I understand, for every day that the longshoremen are on strike, it pushes the movement of goods delivered to the stores by 3 weeks. So like we're already on a supply delay of 3 weeks, 1 day. You do the math. I shouldn't have to explain to you how concerning it is. I'm trying to pick my words very carefully, how concerning it is. So mid-October, it's a critical time for reassessments of the demands that the strikers are making, and it could potentially intensify the clashes because obviously the public, as people's lives are affected by this strike because they weren't really understanding how much the longshoremen and the supply from the ports affect and then drive the prices, and then we have national disasters been declared here in the US. Our resources are already strained in the US already. Do you guys get that? Like you put more strain on the system, it puts more strain on the public, and the public's not going to be happy about this. Just saying. Mars in Sagittarius is from October 4th through November 24th. Mars in Sagittarius brings bold action, and it could drive aggressive negotiations, but also supports the whole public demonstration, the protest, the strike itself, right? That energy can keep the strike heated up throughout all of October and into November. That Mars energy can lead to reckless behavior, and the impact of it is going to be felt by the public, by every single one of us, right? Now, November 24th, Mars will move and shift into Capricorn, which can actually stabilize things. But who wants to wait until November 24th? I certainly don't. I pray, and I hope you all pray, that this gets resolved quickly, even if it's a temporary measure. And I get that the longshoreman, the Daggett guy who's, I don't even want to go there. I mean, if you go to the longshoreman website, you'll see a picture of who Daggett is very fond of. Go find that out for yourself. That's all I'm going to say about that. But that's some of the corruption stuff I think that's going to be revealed publicly. And yeah, I am in support of pay the workers what they deserve and limit automation, but you're not going to stop automation. There's just no way. We're in a technologically advancing society right now. There's no way to keep all automation away, but like you can fight it all you like. It's not going to happen. But to fully automate the ports, I don't agree with either. I think it's worse off. And there's been studies done that say just that, that back that up. So just saying. All right. Saturn goes direct, but not until November 15th. And remember, when all of these planets are retrograde, the energies are amplified, multiplied. So the effects are felt even deeper. And that's part of why we're having such intensity of weather systems, of, conflicts, whether that be the strike and the corporations, the election and the dual parties, and even escalation of confrontation with other countries and potential for war. There's a lot going on. It's why I've kind of put off thought about doing this live stream. I'm like, man, do I want to go there with everyone? Do they want to know? Like, yeah. So your comments right now are going to be super helpful for me because there's a lot of stuff that I am a little apprehensive about sharing with you. Because I'm not here to scare anyone. I just really want you guys to understand that what's happening is cosmically directed. Like, we can't get away from all these things happening. We can change the effects of it if we come together in a very peaceful way, if we start to move, because remember, we're getting ready to move into the Aquarian age, which breaks down all these structures. I've talked about this at the beginning of the year. I've brought it up in all of my monthly forecasts with everybody in my Hidden Wisdom group. Like, they're prepared for it. My Charm Life people, I've talked to them as the astrology kind of keeps moving. But this last 3 months of the year, I wish I could tell you guys, oh, it's going to calm down. No, unfortunately, it's going to ramp up. Like, I wish I could say, and I would not be doing you a service of feeding you the information I know and my understanding of astrology and how it is connecting to the events that have been happening. I would not be doing you a service by sugarcoating this crap. And so some of it I may not let you know. I don't know. There's a lot. I studied a lot, and I can come on later to give you more of the sort of history of when these aspects that I compared, and then also how to prepare more for the changes as we get into 2025. But between now and early part of 2025, it's going to be tough. My life's been intense. Oh, you're welcome. Glad to see you tonight too. Hi, Douglas Hodges. Okay, so thank you, you two, for commenting, and whoever's watching, please comment. And if you're watching the replay, cool, comment. Just let me know. I want to get a conversation started with everyone in such a way where we can exchange ideas. Again, moving into the Aquarian age is not about the individual anymore. This is about coming together as a community, right? Not being so individualistic. And that's something that I was talking to a friend of mine the other day that Spirit was saying to me is society and a lot of the programming has been about live your best life and very individualistic and me. That's the problem that's created so much of the corruption and the greed. We went from the craziness of the Diddy case, which is not over. Like, there's a lot coming out more about that stuff. There's more to be revealed there. And who's all tied in there, and y'all's heads are going to spin when you get all of that. Like, I'm not one to care too much about celebrities, but what I do care about is the human trafficking, the abuse, and everything else that happened. But there's a lot of people in leadership positions. This is bigger than the Epstein and the Weinstein stuff. Like, a lot. Anyways, let's put that aside. So remember, Saturn goes direct on November 15th. That is a month and a half away, right? And when the retrograde ends, that offers more of a chance of structured negotiations for the strike. However, the confusion and the emotional strain that happened during the retrograde, having to do with the strike and all of the ways it's affected all of us, it could bring um, a little bit of burnout, right? It literally, I'm grateful that middle of the month of November, it's possible for them to resolve things, right? But it's more mid-November to late November, unless something with the eclipse of October pushes them into negotiating. But right now, it's like this. It's ego. It's not negotiation. Like I tuned into it right before I jumped on. I'm like, Spirit, are we getting anywhere? And I'm like, no, we're not getting anywhere. Everyone's still yelling. Everybody's still angry. Um, I agree. I've been asking for help and also helping others. It feels like the thing to do. It's absolutely the thing to do right now. Wherever you feel pulled and whatever is getting your attention, this is what I can do right now because I'm still dealing with my own stuff with my cancer, and at the same time trying to restart my business and my services. That's the other thing. Like I'm like, Spirit, what can I do? And I'm going to offer, or I am offering 1 hour sessions instead of only dealing with people privately that can do packages with me and do ongoing mentorship and coaching with me. So I am bringing that hour session back. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. We can get through lots of breakthroughs, calm a lot of stuff down. If you are reacting to the stuff that's happening, I have amazing tools to help you. All right. The other big factor astrologically, yeah, I'm going to get to that. Animal Owners Alliance, I am. Uranus retrograde is in Taurus until January 27th of 2025. And this is the part, this Uranus retrograde in Taurus through the beginning of January. Here's what it affects: continued economic disruptions, instability of resources, finances, right? Economic fallout, especially if the strike lingers on. And then economic fallout after the strike is even resolved, because the supply chain issues and food and agriculture, that's all tied up in that Uranus retrograde in Taurus. That's all part of that transit, that aspect. And these are just the retrogrades. I'm not even going to go over the aspects with you guys. Like literally, I could sit here and talk to you guys for 3 hours about all the stuff that I was looking at prediction wise, and how all of the planets are lining up and what it means for us. I don't have that kind of energy right now. So I want to hit on the highlights of what we're dealing with right now. But Uranus retrograde in Taurus, again, it is the instability of material goods and economic. So do we need to stock up on items? Don't go panic buy. Like that's the worst thing you can do. Here's the thing. If you go panic buy, it's just going to drive the prices higher up. But what you can do is prepare. Like one of the things that I was talking to my dad about, I'm like, we don't need to go buy a bunch of stuff that we don't need, that we aren't going to use. But you can get a big 20-pound bag of flour, because with flour, and living in Colorado with power outages and freezing cold, like I always had plastic containers that had big bags of flour in it. In fact, we're just now finishing the rest of our flour. You can bake bread, you can make tortillas, you can make noodles, right? Like it's better to have something in your stomach than to have nothing. If you don't have any stock of canned goods, like literally, we always have a little bit of stock of food, but we have a lot of people that live in our house now, and we have to make sure that we have enough. I mean, I have a box of survival tabs. Like you just take the pill and it's a bunch of calories. I'm not telling you guys to go freak out like that, but I am telling you the prices of food is going to go up. The other thing I'm going to tell you is because of the strike, the cost of goods for Christmas, like you may want to rethink Christmas. Like the way that you typically would handle it. Like to me, this is going to be more about memories. Like if you really want to push into the Aquarian age early, make Christmas be about memories. Make Christmas be about being kind to your neighbors. Make Christmas about getting connected to your higher self, to God. Like, that's literally um, the supply chain issues, like I said, and the broader financial consequences of this strike will probably continue into early 2025. It just, unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with. The impact from the strike's aftermath and how we have to recover from it could extend again into early 2025 if it gets resolved by November. Let me just put it that way. I mean, the longer this thing goes on, the worse it is, honestly. And while people are not feeling it yet, um, I just talked to my friend in Las Vegas, and up until today, it wasn't crazy shopping. When I went to the store today, it wasn't bad. I know certain places it was bad, but like I just had to get my normal food, right? My friend in Las Vegas said there it's very busy. So people are starting to recognize the threat of what's happening because of the strikes. Um, and here's the other thing that people aren't paying attention to, like with this longshoreman strike, the port strikes, it does affect the entire trucking industry, like long haul truckers that are shipping those goods, moving those cars, moving the material every day. It it affects them too, right? Like long reaching consequences, and a lot of people affected by the strike as far as jobs concerned. But on top of that, all of us are going to feel the pinch. We just are all going to feel the pinch. So, all right, that's with the strike. Let me let me move on a little bit. Have like so many things broken out for this. With the Pluto ending its retrograde, and re-entering into Aquarius on the 11th, understand that aside from the strike, there's escalating tensions going on between the US and China, Russia, the Middle East. Like there's increased tensions, and it's worldwide. The threat of war, you're hearing it in the news. I'm not telling y'all you need to prepare for war because I think that that's stupid. I think you need to pray for peace, but understand that what's causing it is this power struggle, global power struggle. And as Pluto ends its retrograde in Capricorn, it exacerbates those power struggles, particularly around governments and authority, right? So that is why we're seeing like the increase of conflict and the power moves by these other countries that aren't friendly to the United States, and then people being angry at the United States, right? As Pluto moves into Aquarius, there could be even more disruptive energy just from the standpoint of people entering in more of a revolutionary mindset where collective groups come together, could be unions, it could be other groups, activist groups come together and they want to push forward on a movement. So escalation of these types of things and increased public discontent. And then the breakdown of traditional power struggles happen, and you've got global powers that are clashing, and crisis is happening in trade and labor markets. It just intensifies all the political tension. You guys get that? Like, we're going to see that. And so for you and for me, it's very important that we check in with ourselves and we're taking care of our mental health, because one of the big things that I saw for the rest of this year going into these major changes and transformation, we all want to be at the end of the rainbow, and I get it, but that's going to take some work, is the decline of mental health, because so many things are happening so rapidly that people are not already grounded. Y'all need to stay grounded. Like, hope is real. You know, in the Bible, it says hope, faith, and love. Of all of these, the most powerful is love. Love yourself. Love the people around you. Don't get so lost in the holding on of things and the power struggles yourselves. Because as I'm saying this about like what's happening on the planet in the US with the power struggles, that power struggle can translate in your personal relationship. Again, if you want more of that personal stuff, go and join Hidden Wisdom because I went through it, knocked it out like an hour and a half today. Did a whole long thing for them. But for you, pay attention to what I'm saying, what's going to be hit from all of this energy as we go through this. Uranus again, retrograde in Taurus, economic and resource disruptions, financial markets, supply chains, all of those things like economic instability, the supply shortages with food and essential goods. Taurus rules material wealth and resources. Okay. Uranus in retrograde suggests the unexpected disruptions. Uranus is the planet of the unexpected, comes out of the blue, but it's really not out of the blue. These things have been building. We just haven't been paying attention to it. All right. Let's see what else. The devastation that was caused by Hurricane Helene, and then we've got other storms behind it, obviously makes the situation feel more stressful, right? Especially, with Uranus and Taurus, which is earth-based, right? It's earth-based resources, earth-based instability. It can cause like the situation with Hurricane Helene, the rebuilding efforts to be super slow because now we have supply chain disruptions. Like a lot of what comes in on the East Coast has to do with things that building materials, right? Like that's going to affect over there the rebuilding and drive the prices up ridiculous amounts. So we have to hope and pray that the people in charge can reach an agreement on this. Like there's so much at stake right now with this strike. I just don't think people are paying attention. The loss of land from Hurricane Helene, the agricultural land and the farming, that's not the only place we're going to see that. And this is from my own messages from spirit. Like there is a devastating amount of things that happened over there. And there's something with the land in, I think it's Pine. Where is it? South Pine or something like that. North Carolina, where I've heard a couple different things between the quartz and the silica from that region have like that supplies what was it? It wasn't the chips. God, my brain just farted out. But it has to do with computers. And when I remember, as I go on, I'll bring it back. And if any of you know what I'm talking about, you can put it in the chat to help me out. My brain still has like glitches, like better than it was, but still glitches. All right. So those are things we need to be aware of. And then the trade back and forth between us and other countries is going to put an additional strain on other countries' economies, the world economy. Like it isn't just here in the US, but the US is going to be hit pretty hard. And if you look at everything that's happening just this week alone, in the last week, we're in a kind of a little bit of a weakened position. We're very vulnerable right now. And I don't think people are paying attention to that. And a lot of times in the spiritual communities, we want all the positive news and we don't want to look at what's really happening. Well, I'm telling you guys, I'm sounding the alarm. Pay attention to what's going on, please. And I'm not telling you to be afraid. One of the things that Spirit keeps reminding me with all of the things going on is there's always miracles available to you. So stay in that place of hope, faith, and love. Like truly, there will always be divine providence when you believe in it. But I'm not going to say this period isn't going to be filled with loss as we go through these major shifts and changes, because there is, and that's the sucky part. Again, Saturn in retrograde in Pisces until November 15th, right? So all of October puts an emotional and even a spiritual strain on us. Our boundaries gets pushed, right? And we have all of these threats coming in from the outside world, and it literally is going to put widespread burnout and mental health crisis on the forefront. So those of you who have tools to help other people like me, like those of you who have worked with me in Charm Life, you guys have a ton of tools. Talk to your community, talk to your families, because you don't understand. A lot of people are looking at this and not wanting to talk about it because they're afraid if they say it out loud, it's just going to make it worse. No, we need to work our way and process our way through this. This time that we're in, I think, is as detrimental as what we went through with COVID, with all the stuff that was going on. And the processing of it, of COVID itself, and the lockdowns, a lot of people are still processing the trauma that came out of that when the world changed. Well, the world's changing again. And I'm telling you, there are more changes to come. So we've got to have that communication, literally have to have that communication. The Pisces retrograde, the Saturn retrograde in Pisces, it does tend to blur our boundaries, right? And it's that place where the entire world is struggling to find clear, structured responses to all of these overwhelming issues. Do you guys feel what I'm telling you? Like, do you understand what I'm telling you? And is it making sense? Because if it's not, I won't continue. Like, I want to know that you guys understand what I'm saying to you. Like, you're going to feel like your mental, your emotional system is just on overload right now. And so you have to be very clear on what you can and cannot take. You know, the more grounded you are, the more you can handle. Like, I can look at all of this stuff, I can see it unfolding and playing out. But because I have such strong foundation and faith, I'm not worried. Like, I don't have fear surrounding it. That doesn't mean I'm not doing what's necessary to prepare. I am. For me and my family, as far as how we're being guided through this right now. Yeah, not even over COVID from 4 years ago. Like, seriously, it's a thing. All right. Emotional exhaustion on a societal level is what drives this. Certain communities dealing with the effects of the natural disasters, like we're seeing right now in the economic strain, losing everything, businesses, houses, all of your belongings. Like, that is a huge trauma. And I think we all need to understand that on the recovery side, once everybody's accounted for and safe from Hurricane Helene, that they need us to support them. Because can you imagine not only losing loved ones and not knowing what happened to them, but on top of that, losing everything, and you weren't even prepared for it, right? So we can support that way too. Really, we can support that way too. With the Saturn retrograde, war tensions escalate. And the closer we get to the end of the retrograde, and this is why things are ramping up, the closer we get to the end of that retrograde, it's those global issues, those war tensions and growing tensions, they come more into the forefront. And man, it can increase fear and paranoia for those of us watching it, right? But it can also create conflict escalation. So we can see that whole thing escalating. Again, pray. Like, pray. Our intentions are important. The words we speak, the prayers we pray, they're super important in how things play out. And I don't think people realize how important that is. And that's why I like coming together as a community and really speaking out. Well, my intention is that things resolve in a different way than before, with all of the corruption being revealed over the next 3-4 months, more of it being revealed at the highest levels of leadership. I do believe that there is a possibility here that it ushers in a whole different kind of leadership moving forward, but those systems have to be destroyed, and that's not going to be pretty. All right. So let's go through the eclipses and then I'm kind of I really do want to like not overwhelm you guys with this stuff. I just want you to know there's some preparation energetically, emotionally, mentally, physically, materially, you need to be ready for. Because the next 3 months are going to be, it's going to be a ride. The stock market's going to be super volatile, super volatile. And yeah, the word wealth transfer keeps coming up whenever I meditate and pray. So just saying, keep that in mind. All right. So the October 2nd, tomorrow, eclipse in Libra, that is surrounding balance with partnerships. But eclipses, again, can bring sudden endings and disruptions. It can spark major diplomatic breakdowns, right? Particularly in international relationships. So tomorrow's energy, like I would like to think that Libra's balancing energy can stabilize it, but actually it destabilizes things, right? Which that in the strike, it can affect the trade negotiations tied to the strike. Making it harder to find like equitable solutions between the labor unions and the corporate entities. Then we have October 17th, the lunar eclipse in Aries. Aries governs conflict, aggression, right? And leadership. So while lunar eclipses force the end of something in the context of like global tensions, the eclipse on the 17th could trigger military action or aggressive maneuvers from players like Russia, China, and even the Middle East. So that's a date to watch. Like, watch what's happening around the 17th and keep your prayers going, right? It can also represent a leadership change or loss in the governments or corporate entities. I mean, it's about destabilization of the political and economic landscape. So that October 17th eclipse is one that I'm not looking forward to, but at the same time, there's no way around it. Like, we could see violent actions. We could see people asserting power. We can see geopolitical chaos. So something to look for. The solar eclipse that's happening on October 31st, where I said, um, you know, we kind of have to worry a little bit about natural disasters. The reason I say that is because the solar eclipse happens in the sign of Scorpio. Again, eclipses, never fun energy. But the sign of Scorpio is a water sign. And when I first started looking at all of this astrology, that date kept hopping out at me when it came to natural disasters dealing with water. So tsunamis, hurricanes, that sort of thing, weather events, acts of God. The other thing that I don't even know if people are realizing with the disaster that just happened, and there's a state of emergency declared for multiple states by the government. The insurance agencies have already been doubling our rates, especially like places like Texas. This is going to cripple the insurance agencies. Like, we're going to see some stuff come out when it comes to the payouts for people who've lost their houses and businesses. I mean, whole towns got wiped out. You guys understand what I'm saying? When insurance doesn't cover the loss of those things and cover the banks, then the government has to step in, which then puts a strain on our reserves, which then drives taxes up, right? So, like, altogether, there's a need to rework the entire system. Like, and that's what we're moving towards in 2025 as we enter into the age of Aquarius. You know, the song was oh so cool. The dawning of the age of Aquarius. It was a feel good song, but the reality is as we make this transition, comes with a lot of disruption, comes with a lot of unexpected stuff. So be prepared. Don't get scared. Like, there's no way around this. We have to go through this, right? We really do need to go through this. Um, and we can go through it with the most positive, loving, faith-filled way, the way that I've done my best to get through my cancer, or we can go through this like moaning and groaning. That's not going to help you. Um, be willing to be adaptable and let go of things. Like, we're all going to have to adjust in the coming months, in the coming weeks, even. We're all going to have to face up to what's needed and what's not. The time of excess consumerism is coming to an end, right? We're moving into a time where it's not just about me, but it's about what's good for me and what's good for you. Like, what's in the highest good of all, not just me. What's the long-term repercussions? And I think if people were paying attention to that a long time ago, we wouldn't be going through so many hardships right now. There's a ton of corruption. Not going to lie. Not going to say that that's not, like, there is so much more corruption at levels that most people had no idea. And it's going to piss people off, right? It's going to make people angry. The thing that I want to say is whatever is revealed, understand that doesn't mean that you need to go to war with people who are in shock and unable to digest what's happening. When it comes to the election, and I will say this, it may not be popular, but some of the stuff that I did see with the astrology, the possibility is, because all of these things are happening at the same time and things are already unstable, there's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying astrologically, there is a possibility that something very unexpected comes and disrupts the normal events of the election in November. Because here's the deal, all that's man-made. God has other plans. Like, the planets are aligning the way the planets are aligning, and it has nothing to do with our little structures, man-made structures. And so people may get all up in arms, oh, it's the left, it's the right. Like, it's the universe trying to create a level playing field and trying to bring light to these things that we are participating in aren't necessarily coming from source energy. Just saying. Like, I'm excited for what's coming and the coming changes once we get beyond the disruptions and destruction, because I think it's going to bring about a call for innovative leaders, young minds, people who can think outside of the box to really redo everything. I was telling my friend the other day, like, I don't understand how it is we still defend and haven't rewritten or addressed as a society in the US a constitution that was written in 1776 by men who carried guns or rifles that had gunpowder, not handguns or AR-15s, automatic weapons. Like, the Constitution speaks to men's rights, not everybody's rights. It specifically says men. This was before women had any rights. This was a time when slavery was illegal and was looked upon as okay, when it was okay to take over the native lands. Like, why are we still defending a constitution that was written back in 1776 when life has evolved and times have changed? Like, we have to go look at that document and maybe revisit it, because, and I'm not saying that we should get rid of the rights. I'm just saying, like, things need to be reworked. Like, we can't keep living by the stuff that was done hundreds of years ago, right? Like, just saying. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that, but I know my friend was like, no, you're right. Like, you're right. And I think that that's part of what is going to be birthed out of these changes astrologically that are pushing. And like I said, I could be on here for hours, you guys. Like, I just gave you a small overview of what's to come. And I'm doing it so that you guys have some understanding of what you need to prepare. like how you need to prepare, what you need to be watching for. And that's just for the next month, not through the rest of the year, because I've got it all the way through. Like I broke down the astrology. I started with the next 3 months to finish out 2024, and I couldn't stop there. My research brain was like, no, we got to go farther. Let's go farther out into 2025, because time, I don't know if you realize, is actually speeding up right now too. Things are moving super fast. Things are happening in a very condensed way. And when a lot goes on in one small amount of time, it becomes time just gets super compressed and we get so overwhelmed. And the last thing I want to see is more people running through life in survival mode or crisis mode. I know a lot of people are right now because they have to be, with what's going on in North Carolina, Western North Carolina. Like, I get it. And I hope that the healing can take place in a complete way and we can hold them up. My biggest concern is it's not the only disaster that the US is going to be facing here in the next few months. Like, we've got more to come. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, get prepared, because so many unexpected things are coming our way, and I can't predict all of it because Mother Nature has her say in all of this. And then you have, international negotiations going on, and there's a lot going on. So you guys have my heart, and know that you can always reach out to me. If you're like, I want to go through this from up here without freaking out, like without being afraid. Like, what do I need to do? And you can't think straight, jump on a call with me for an hour, and specifically for you, I will tell you where Spirit's leading me to direct you. A lot of people are at decision-making points. So the last thing I want to share with you, and one of the more exciting things that I'll get into deeper as time allows, for those of you who are unemployed, or you're watching all these layoffs going on, or maybe you've already been laid off. I one of the things that Spirit and I talked about the other day, and one of the things that I can clearly see, is more of a rise of what they call the gig economy, like people becoming self-employed and offering your services, to out for contract, but without a middleman. And I kept seeing the need to come together with co-ops, and it's not something that I want to create, like like, because I'm not in those industries, but like tech co-ops, healthcare co-ops, things like that, industries where the layoffs have happened, but like you can actually create a co-op and then use the power of the co-op to get contracts from the government and large corporations, but you still have access to the buying power for healthcare and things like that. Like, there's a few that have already started when I looked it up the other day, because I hadn't thought about it, but there's a need for more, right? One of the things I can tell you all, even if you're going into winter, um, get some seeds. Everybody needs to have seeds. Everybody needs to have the ability to grow your own food. And I say that with the whole co-op thing, is like, we are going to move into more of a local kind of community, think Age of Aquarius, to where like we are more responsible for growing our food, and we are like coming together as a community, whether that is tied to the industry you're in, creating a co-op garden, right? A neighborhood garden. There's all these things that we can actually do, in preparation for the changes that are coming, but that's more of what we're moving into. So if you are in one of those industries that's been hit with layoffs, other than like retail, um, think about, can you create a co-op, right? Can you get together with other people like you that maybe were laid off of the same company, bring your skills together and offer it out into the world? There's always a way to make things work. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm not afraid. There's always a way to bring things forward and make things work. And I think the way the Spirit was explaining it to me, it's pretty cool. Like the whole co-op idea, it's not something I'm passionate about. And I only want to do the things that I'm really good at and the things that I'm passionate about. And while I'm good with technology and I'm having a ton of fun, working with technology, it's not something that's part of my day to day. Like, I help people. That's what I do. I use my gifts to dive in and really help transform people's lives and give them insight into decisions they're making, directions they're going. And then with my vast knowledge and experience with helping people, it's amazing how quick transformation can happen and you get on solid ground. But, I'm also a high performance coach. So there's lots of stuff. That's where my heart is, not in creating a co-op. But some of you might want to create a co-op. I know with healthcare, that is a solution, a local healthcare co-op to pull out of the way things have been done and serve your community. And there's going to be a need for it as the insurance industry starts to topple. And I'm not kidding. When one part of the insurance agencies topple, you're going to start to see the effects in the other industries, even the healthcare industries. Just saying. Like, there's a lot of changes coming, y'all. I don't want to overwhelm you, but there's a lot of changes coming. Not even sure what services I can offer. I have to figure out what and who I really am and what I can offer. And it's good that you're asking those questions, right? It's good that you're even thinking in terms of that. Pray on it. Like, show me what I can do. Show me. Here's the thing. Like, in times like this, it can get like overwhelming to the point where we're like, yeah, I have these skills and I have these talents and I could do these things. And then your ego pops in and goes, what's the point? What's the point? The economy's already hit. Like, there's always a point. There's always a reason. Like, when an idea comes to you, understand that's a download you're specifically getting. And, ask the universe for a confirmation. And you'll either get one, or if you don't get the sign you're looking for, that means don't go that direction. Go a different direction. Right now, the most important thing that I think I can help people with is getting in touch with your own intuition connected to God, because that divine intuition, that divine direction will save your butt more ways than you will ever know, and will always guide you to the safest place for you, and the safest solutions for you. And so many times we don't understand it is actually your fear and your ego that gets in the way of that connection. So you can't hear God's voice. And that was programmed out of us when we were kids, So now we have to learn how to connect to that. Many people need to learn. And I think that more and more that's more of what I help people do. Because naturally, when I help people connect, and transform their lives away from fear and trauma and whatever blocks or crisis they're in, inevitably you free that up. You have space. Now your intuition starts to open up and it's like, wow, I didn't even know that existed, but it does. So I hope that helps. That was long. And like I said, that is a very small portion of this. Like, I have pages and pages of astrological aspects that I looked at to finish out the rest of the year. I'll bring you some more sometime, probably next week. It'll be interesting next week looking at the big astrological aspects as we move forward, letting some more time pass with these things. Things are going to be happening very quickly, very dynamically. Not everything, and I'll leave you with this, because Neptune's still at play, creating a whole lot of confusion and chaos. Things may feel chaotic. Things might feel very confusing for the next bit. Be careful of what you're believing. Whatever you see, go check it out for yourself, even if it's coming from me. Like, I'm telling you guys, these are the astrological aspects. Go research it on your own if you don't believe me what it's tied to. Like, go look it up yourself. I'm telling you. Everywhere you should be verifying information, because from mainstream media to social media, there's a lot of, I hate the word fake news, but really there's a lot of embellishments. There's a lot of untruths. Again, a lot of corruption, a lot of deception. And throughout this month, those are the things we need to be watching for. And then the part where you get to play in directing your reality and your part in this time is I have a set of gifts. I have a heart a certain way. I have this community around me, my family, the people that I live around, my work. What can I offer that's going to create solutions for everybody, that's going to meet the needs of the people that are around me, right? And some of you may be called to go help with the rescue and rebuilding efforts that are going on. I don't know. I know FEMA's keeping people out right now, but they're still in rescue mode. They're not in recovery mode yet. Just saying. If you have family members that are involved in the strike, and I mean, there's a lot of workers, like 45,000 plus workers that this strike is that are striking. But again, you have to think about the truckers being affected that are now can't get in and out of the ports. So they have no work, or they have to shuffle now to find other loads. There's a lot of people that are being affected by this, not to mention the grocery stores, the department stores and retail chains, and on and on and on. Again, I'll come back next week. For now, though, I'd love it if you watch this and you leave me comments, questions you have, patterns you're recognizing based on the astrology that I'm sharing this time. I'll share more of the other aspects that are pushing. A part of my research was about the closer we get to the push into Aquarius, as all the planets start lining up there, what the squeeze is going to feel like. What do we need to be ready for, right? When you're forewarned, you have more power. That's as far as I'm concerned. So I don't get afraid of looking at these things. Like I dig it when I can have some information, because at least I know what to prepare for. Grounding, meditating, journaling, spending time in nature, spending less time on social media. Like, control your social media usage. Something that I went through with a couple of my clients in the last week. Like, it's easy when you're overwhelmed to just doom scroll just for distraction. And one of the things that I would say you have to watch out for is, how much are you trying to distract from what's happening? And is it healthy distraction, or is it nonsense where you're putting more garbage in and creating more fear for yourself or worries? Be aware of that. Like, screen time, schedule it, and never at the first time in the morning, and never right before you go to bed, because your brain's actually storing that stuff and it will affect your dreams. And then in the morning, it affects your energy throughout the rest of the day. So, like, schedule it and keep it limited. I can scroll for 10 minutes. That's it. 10 minutes. Put the phone down, set an alarm, set a timer. Like, pretty simple. And then you're not 2 hours later wondering what the hell just happened. Just saying. So I hope that helps. Let me know, please, in the comments if it's useful. Because if it's not, I'm not going to bother with all of sharing with you guys all of the stuff that I found. I did all of that research for my group, my program, for my people, and for myself, so that I am prepared and understand the energies that are at play. And for the first time since I was diagnosed with cancer and going through the treatments, I actually had the energy to break out all of the rest of the year. Not that I couldn't before. It's just connecting pieces and patterns when you have brain fog from chemo, not so easy, right? So the last week it was easier. I did have an infusion last Monday, but it was only one drug. And it took me a few days to recover from that, but I'm not knocked out like I was when I was doing chemo. And then I don't know when my next anything is. I have a biopsy next Tuesday. I have an oncology appointment the following Tuesday. And then I have an appointment with the transplant center that's doing my new therapy. But that's just an appointment to get onboarded. So I probably won't even have the treatment until sometime in November or December. Like, they probably won't even take my blood until November, and then they have to send it away and bring it back. So this could go on until December. But thankfully, my brain is coming back, which makes me super happy, because part of me was thinking, am I just getting old? But no, I've been sick for a couple of years now. So anywho, I wish you guys the very best. You have my compassion, my love, and my prayers that whatever you are creating in your life right now is positive and uplifting for yourself and the people around you. I'll see you guys later.